Hello, millionaires. Welcome to the Millionaire Money Podcast, episode 22. Today, we're going to be talking about how my clients are able to create multi-million-dollar transformational stories in a few years. And it's all going to be linked. Of course, there's many parts to it, but we're going to be talking a lot about one of the global beliefs in our community, which is anything is possible in any amount of time. Stay tuned. All right, let's get into it. So many of you guys have heard me share a lot of different client stories about how people have really scaled in short amounts of time. And I truly believe that one of the reasons, and there's many different factors that we put together in this wonderful soup of transformation that we create for our people. But one of the core ingredients in our recipe is a global belief that I have and that we have throughout our organization, which is this: that anything is possible in any amount of time. Why am I bringing this up? Because over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking to you guys specifically about creating multi-millions of dollars in a short amount of time. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt, if you can't wrap your head around this concept, it's absolutely impossible for you to create multi-millions in a shorter amount of time. It doesn't matter what I show you. It doesn't matter what systems I'm going to share on the podcast. It doesn't matter what you have access to. If your brain can't accept this global belief, it's not going to happen. Now, let's talk about it. Let's break this down. How many of you guys have ever heard the saying, good things take time? You know, you're listening to this, put your hand up, put your finger up. If you're a lot of you guys listen while you're driving, which is super duper cool. You know, put your little pinky up with your hand on your steering wheel. But many of you guys have heard that phrase, good things take time. And not to say that it does not. Okay, so let me just hear what I'm saying and not what I'm not saying. Some good things take time, and some good things can come to you a lot faster if you would just shift your strategy and tweak your strategy just a little bit. Now, what do I mean by that? So, for example, if a woman is pregnant, she's pregnant for about 9 months. By the way, guys, did you know that technically we're not really pregnant for 9 months? It's almost like 10 months. And every single time I've been pregnant to have our babies, like I've just been like, we have been lied to all our lives about 9 months of pregnancy. Is 10 when you're counting it, but then I've asked questions and they're always like, well, it's actually 9 months because it's like 9.5, and who cares? Anyway, but it's a good thing to carry that baby for the 9.5, 10-ish months that we actually end up carrying that baby for. Or, you know, thinking about planting a tree. Trees are beautiful, plants are beautiful, and they take time to grow. So is there a need for longevity and commitment and being able to stay the course in your business? Absolutely. However, there's often a belief system that causes people to create this invisible glass ceiling in their income because it's almost like they haven't given themselves permission to scale any faster. And for many of you, you also think of this and you create this by working in a linear way. So you think that if I'm going to create multi-millions of dollars, all I'm going to do is work more hours. I'm going to work harder. And when you're listening to this podcast, and one of the thoughts that's been going through your mind is, there's absolutely no way for me to work harder than I already am because I'm already at my max. So if I'm already at my max and I need to work even harder in order to hit multi-millions of dollars, like it's asking too much of me. There's literally no extra time to do that. And for some of you that subscribe to this is why you've been stuck in debt even, because it's like, if I have debt, then the thought of not just coming out of that consumer debt and being able to scale my net worth past $1 million in the next 2 years, for example, sounds like a completely preposterous idea, because it's like, how on earth am I going to be able to do those two things in such a short amount of time. And it's not your fault, guys. We've been groomed that way. We've been groomed through like, okay, you go to school, you graduate, which is a good thing. Education is phenomenal. You need that, but you go to school, you graduate, you get a job, you show up, you get paid this much per hour. You show up, you get paid this much per hour. And so a lot of us have taken an employee type of mentality of that exchange of time for money into our businesses and into our investments. So instead of us beginning to challenge our brains, and y'all know that there's a training I've done, and I refer to it often, but there's a training we've done on mental discipline, where you literally begin to train your brain to think differently than it has before. And it's just the same way you train your body to be able to carry weights that it couldn't carry before. But anyway, so applying that mental discipline to your brain so that it can begin to think at a level that is different from the linear level that we have all grown up being groomed in thinking. So like you exchange time for money, you do this and you do that. And for many of you, what happens when you don't get this is you are consistent. And consistency is an amazing trait. Like consistency is actually one of the traits of multimillionaires. So you have half of the recipe. You're consistent, but you're not scaling. You're consistent, but your growth takes much longer than it needs to. You're consistent, but yet it's taking you 10 years to create the same outcome that you could have created in 1 year. And the challenge of that is time is real. Like y'all have heard me say this, but time is more valuable than money. Why? Because you can make money and you can lose money and you can make that money back. But if you lose time, you cannot get that time back. And so for many people, it's like when you are thinking along this linear road, you're not actually giving yourself the space to create at a level that allows you to maximize your time so that you can step into the rest of the things that God has called you to do. And it's so interesting because I remember when myself and my husband were just getting started in our journey of learning about money, and we had quite a few mentors that we would ask questions. And I remember talking to one of our mentors. He said, the first million is always the hardest. And maybe you guys have heard that phrase, the first million is always the hardest. And I remember when he said it to us, the first million is always the hardest, we looked at each other and we said, in Jesus' name, it will not be hard for us. But legit, it's not to say, guys, that you don't work hard, but the expectation you bring to the table has a large determining factor on what you receive out of that process. And so, for example, the expectation that I brought to the table when I was in my apartment and didn't have the money for rent that month, October 2017, the decision that I had made was I'm going to be a millionaire in a year. And so, of course, I could have said I'm going to be a millionaire in 5 years. I could have said I'm going to be a millionaire in 10 years. Now, mind you guys, I didn't become a millionaire in 1 year. I actually became a millionaire in 3 years. It took me 3 years to get there. And I approached it like it was going to happen in a year. I planned, I strategized like it was all going to happen in a year. Ended up taking 3 years. First of all, I'm just saying I'm not complaining about I am not complaining. I am extremely grateful. Y'all know me. Like, gratitude is my emotional home. Extremely grateful for the way that we were able to break out of that financial mediocrity and financial struggle. But I can't help but think about, what if I had that night lay on my bed extremely frustrated, I'm never going to be here again, point of no return, and I said to myself, I'm going to be a millionaire in the next 5 years. Guess what would have happened? I know some of y'all are finishing my sentence before I've even said it. I would have become a millionaire potentially maybe in 7 years. Because that would have been the length of time, the expectation that I had given myself. And because I had said I'm going to be a millionaire in a year, when we did it in the 3 years, by the time it happened, we were able to leverage, and we were leveraging the entire time to multiply the results, to multiply the effect and what we had been creating financially. Also, I'm a financial coach. I coach people on financial strategy. Strategy was not my problem. That limit in my brain was the problem. But we implemented a lot of the strategy that I had already studied, that we already knew. And so we're able to multiply it after hitting that first million, or while we're hitting just the whole journey. So what is my point? My point is that this is one of the top limiting beliefs that hold people back from actually hitting the level that is available to them. Because a lot of people think, okay, cool, anything is possible in any amount of time. That sounds really, romantic, Toyin. And maybe that's accessible and available to you because you had some special advantage that was given to you. Maybe because you were given like a lump sum of money and that was not the case. Or you were given this or that thing and that's not the case. But we often, when we hear things like this, and this is what I really want to get into, is the limiting beliefs that could be coming up in your brain right now as you're listening to me. So I'm saying something to you like anything is possible in any amount of time. And you are like, yeah, I can believe that. I can take that. Anything is possible in any amount of time. And you are thinking, for Toyin, for her community, for those people. And you are literally disqualifying yourself from the conversation before the conversation has even started. And so this is one of the limiting beliefs that we've seen come up over and over in our community, where when people first come in, they literally see these like breakthroughs happening all over the place. And one of the top fears that comes up is, what if it's happening for everyone else and it's not going to happen for me? In fact, one of our clients just posted like 2 nights ago. She said, she had just graduated. And when she graduated, she had totally transformed. She was a different woman, cleared a bunch of money mindset roadblocks, but she had not got like a raise or a promotion. And we work with career professionals as well as business owners, right? So she hadn't gotten like a raise or a promotion, and she didn't want to get another job. So we couldn't help her get like a better job. She wanted to stay where she was. So she didn't get a raise or a promotion in the 2 months that she was working with us. And she just posted 2 nights ago, and she said, I felt like, oh my gosh, maybe God had overlooked me in the room or in the journey. And she was posting this because she was like, I just want to say, this is like a month after she graduated. I just want to say, I just got my promotion and I just got the raise, the pay increase that came with that promotion. And she's like, I was out here thinking that 2022 was already a wash. Like I changed. I know I shifted, but okay, nothing happened, that's fine. And now she's like, oh my gosh, now I know, and this was her words, now I know that God was actually preparing me for 2023, for the breakthrough that's in 2023. But reading her post, it just made me obviously so happy. You guys know me, I'm always like geeking out on when our clients are winning. I'm like, yes, this is why we do what we do. Okay. So outside of just geeking out, it just reminded me of this same principle. Anything is possible in any amount of time, because I could imagine her going through that process and thinking to herself, well, I guess it hasn't happened and it's already December and, we've got it's pretty much done. The year's pretty much over. But instead of being like the year's pretty much over, because of the new mentality, because of the way that we approach it, it's like literally your breakthrough can happen in a minute. For some of you guys, all you need to hear is one of the sentences in any of the episodes of this podcast, and that is all you needed to create a ridiculous, massive breakthrough in your life. And one of the things that I've heard from people when they first step into our space is this mentality of like someone else must have an advantage in order for them to be able to get what they want. So for example, a single person would look at someone who's married and be like, well, the reason that person broke through, and I'm talking to you guys today because some of you are listening to me and you watch our videos on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, and you see the stories and you're thinking these thoughts, okay? So let's say you're single and you see a story and there's a couple there and you're like, well, the reason you got that breakthrough is because you're married and there's two of you that are actually creating it, and so therefore you must have some special advantage. And now we will also hear from some of our married people who will actually say things like this. Well, the reason she got a breakthrough is because she's single, and so she's not having to deal with all of the people that I'm having to carry that maybe aren't engaged in trying to shift financially in our family. Or you'll hear some people say things like, well, the reason that person was able to break through is because they're a parent and they have something to fight for. They have this like fire inside of them that's just next level. I'm not a parent, so I guess it's just like not accessible to me. Or you hear a parent thinking to themselves, well, the reason I can't break through is because I'm a parent and I have my children and it takes so much of my time and I'm not able to focus as much as that person who's single over there. And you hear this type of language, well, it's because he's a guy and she's a woman and that door opened for that person because of this and this and this. So we literally psych ourselves out of the things that are available to you. And I want y'all to hear me and hear me clearly. You can have a completely different life in the next 3 months. You can have a completely different life in the next year. You can have a completely different life, y'all, in the next 2 years. And y'all know that there's something coming up. We're going to be doing something for the next 2 years. Y'all have probably heard all these 5-day challenges, and that's fine. That's cute. What we're about to roll out for you guys is a 2-year challenge, and you'll hear about it. It's coming up. I'm going to tell you about it before this year is over. But just in 2 years, you can dramatically change the course of your life. And so that becomes the biggest question, isn't it? Is, are you willing to accept, one, that anything is possible in any amount of time, and two, that anything is possible in any amount of time for you, that your story is able to change? Or do you prefer, and I promise y'all it feels more comfortable to disagree with that and be very, very, very convincing and logical, and yes, Toyin, it's absolutely impossible. You will feel very comfortable there to watch other people and cheer them on and say, oh, that's nice, that's cute, that's good, but that's not available to me. Because the truth is, the moment you actually agree with this, it can actually feel scary, because now there's no reason for you not to win. Now you're actually going to be held accountable to the goals, the dreams that you've been saying that you want, but you've never really anchored in, because you've always been saying, well, it's just not available to me because blank. Y'all, we've seen that. I remember one client, like this is like the encapsulation of what I want to tell y'all about. We had a family come to work with us, and they had been trying to get a house for 8 years. And guys, when you hear this stuff, like so many of you, you hear it and you allow your own brain to tell you it's just not real. Instead of you to go there and go to the Facebook group, they are there. They posted about it. Anyway, they had been looking for a house of their own for 8 years. They had been praying for it. They had been believing for it. They had been declaring it. They had been trying to get it. Actively going, visiting the house, doing this, doing that. They step into our room, guys, with zero prospects of being able to get a house. Okay, so they had not yet saved up their down payment. They knew it's time for us to shift. They knew we want to get our home now. We're ready for it. We've been talking about it for 8 years. We're ready to actually get that done now. That's part of the reason they actually stepped into the room, was there's something that's been blocking us. We want to figure out what that thing is. We want to clear that out of our mind, really lean into what God is calling over us, and see a manifestation of the promise of God in our family, in us owning a home. And they stepped into our room, y'all, with intentionality. And they had their house in 8 weeks. Now, hear me. This was not a chaka-chaka house. This was not some kind of kwe-kwe house that, will be falling around all around them. This was gorgeous, everything, open concept. What do they call it? Pot like this. They walked us around their house, and I'm out here like, oh my gosh, this is legit, guys. It was beautiful. In 8 weeks, they secured what they had not been able to secure for 8 years. Now let's approach this scenario from a linear perspective. If someone is trying to get a house and they have tried for 8 years and they want to approach getting this house from a linear perspective, how long do you think they would have expected, now that they got the help, now that they got the strategy, if it's just going to happen in a linear way, the breakthrough to come? Maybe at least a year. At least a year. Maybe 8 months. That would have been a miracle. But 8 weeks? 8 weeks? How can that happen? Because anything is possible in any amount of time. And this is the stuff that I'm telling you guys. If you are willing to open your mind to possibility, and I call them to God level thinking. There's a verse in the Bible that's where God says, my ways are not your ways and my thoughts are not your thoughts. And, God is an infinite God with infinite numbers of solutions to the challenges that we see. And we have finite minds. I talk a lot to my people about leaning into him to think from his perspective, leaning in and asking the type of questions that help your brain to step out of the linear finite mode of thought. Like one of our clients who recently was working the $110,000 salary and then gets a job for $163,000 that she did not apply for initially. They came to her out of nowhere. She wasn't even on the job market. They came to pick her. How? Because we all know we're ready to receive. We're expectant. There's one of the phrases I always say, and I'm giving y'all a lot in this one, but I say random good things are always happening to me. And so, of course, random good things are always happening to them. Random good things are always coming around them. And so I just want to say this, y'all. Anything is possible in any amount of time. Not just for, Stacy or Imuna or Jay or Steve or Ben or Isi or any of these other people. Anything is possible in any amount of time for you. And there is something that we are about to bring to y'all. And I'm going to be announcing it in one of the coming podcasts. So you want to make sure that you are tuned in, that you are listening. And I think I mentioned this on the last one. Subscribe on YouTube. Find me on Facebook, find me on TikTok, find me on Instagram, because we are going to be announcing a 2-year challenge. And in order for you to grasp and participate in what's going to happen, you have to grasp this concept. This is why I'm having these conversations with you guys right now, because I want you guys' brains to begin to get ready for the level that I am going to be challenging you to play at very, very, very soon. Okay? Anything is possible in any amount of time, not just for them, but also for me. You need to be able to see this is also available to me. So if you've been watching this video or listening to the podcast, I have a question for you. And it's this. Even if you've never thought this way before, or maybe some of y'all are listening to this, you're like, yes, the whole podcast, you've been like, Toyin, I know it, I believe it, I really, really, really agree with it, right? Let me say one thing to those of you who actually really, really are already aligned with that mode of thought, like anything is possible in any amount of time. I have to say this, I have to give this one big caveat, which is this. It's not enough to know not think, know that anything is possible in any amount of time for you, you also need strategy. So that's why I said in the beginning of this episode that we are not just talking about the one thing that helps people create these multi-million dollar transformation stories in a few years. It's a full recipe. It's a full soup of things. So we don't just tell them, okay, everybody, let's get over here. And all of you now just believe that anything is possible in any amount of time and you ain't got to do nothing. And all of a sudden it's going to be sunshine, lollipops. I don't know if I can sing it, so let me not sing it so I don't cross any copyrights. Right? But like, it's just going to be rosy daisy. I'm done with the pop references. It's going to be great. And you don't got to do nothing. Because that's not true. Anything is possible in any amount of time to those who can believe that and do the work to receive the very thing that they're asking for. So when I made that decision of, okay, we're going from struggle and we are going to create $1 million in the next year, I didn't just chill and not do anything and expect it to come to me. I got to work. And so the question that I want to ask you is, are you willing to accept that? One, are you willing to accept that anything is possible in any amount of time? And if you are, I want you to put that in the chat, whether you're listening on YouTube, put a review and just be like, yes, Toyin, I know it. I really agree with this. Or I'm willing to believe that. And then the second question that I want to ask you is, are you willing to believe and accept that anything is possible in any amount of time for you? Not just for everyone else, but for you. I wish I could do like the first name tag and call you by your first name. But like, if I could genuinely sit in front of you and say, are you willing to believe that it's not just breakthrough time all the time for everyone else but you? Are you willing to receive that God truly has wonderful plans for you that could happen much faster than you could ever have imagined? Are you willing to accept that? Are you willing to receive that? And if you are, I want you to type that in the chat. I am willing to believe, I receive it, that anything is possible in any amount of time for me. And then you need to commit to do the work. And there's many different parts to this conversation that we're going to be having in the next couple of weeks. So I want you guys to be very tuned in to the conversation. Please hear me. This is not the only part. And this is very important. I don't want you guys to hear this video and think it's just believe it and it's just going to happen all of a sudden because nothing. Like, no. That's not how it works. But you do have to have this foundation. You have to have this foundation where you are able to create something truly phenomenal, truly magnificent. And it doesn't have to be a grind, a pull, a linear walk, an exchange of time for money. Because at the end of the day, you can't build wealth exchanging time for money. You just can't. And I'm not saying that those of you in a career can't build wealth. We've helped our clients do that. What I'm saying is you're not going to build wealth through that vehicle. You're going to build wealth through the money that you've made from exchanging your time for money, doing exponential work for you. And so if you're listening to this and you want to believe that, but you either, one, don't know the strategy, or you don't know how to get your brain to step outside of the like stuck, I gotta grind for everything, then I want you to book a call with my team. moneymindsetShift.ca/call. moneymindsetShift.ca/call. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a conversation with you. And we're going to see, okay, what are the top roadblocks that are coming up for you that have been keeping you in this place where everything has to be hard? Guys, one last thing I'm going to say. This is just a really fun story about this. Really fun story. I was talking to one of our clients. This is maybe last year, I think. Last year. And her name was Diana. I love you, Diana. I said something like this, right? Like anything is possible in any amount of time. We were talking about her career and the possibility of her scaling her income. She was in a career and she was just like, Toyin, that's impossible. Like that stuff just doesn't happen. At least that stuff doesn't happen to me. She's like, all my life, I have had to work for every single thing that I have. All my life, I've had to work for everything that I have. Nothing has been given to me for free. I have had to grind. I have had to do the work. So you know, just telling me that, oh, I can just receive and I can just like have more without having to like kill myself at another level. Because that was her concern was, well, I don't want to get more because in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to like really start compromising my time with my children, which she really wanted to have that time with her children, time with her husband, and so on. And so she was just like, this is just not for me. Could be cool for everyone, but not for me. And it was so funny because I was like, all right, you can believe that, and you can fight for that, and you can hold on to that. And I won't argue with you. But would you be curious to see and find out if maybe, just maybe, this is also available to you? And she was like, absolutely. Of course I would be. That's why I'm in the room, Toyin. That's why I'm in the room, Toyin. I want to know, is it possible for me? And so I'm not going to go into all the coaching that we did that night. I see y'all. Y'all are like, tell us the goods, okay? But I gave her specific homework that week. And I'm not making this stuff up. This is why I tell you guys, online, people can talk all this stuff. Talk fluff, 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 fluff. You ask them, what are the results? Anyway, not making this up. I give her homework. We show up the next Tuesday. Now, guys, I am not a magician. I don't go and like talk to God and have a private conversation with him and say, hey, God, you see Diana over there? She's really looking for a miracle. So now's about the time for you to like, you know, do something. Like, no, these are principles. They're principles and actions that you need to take to create these stories in your own life, to have these as like your stories. Anyway, the next week, she shows up in the room. We're having this coaching session with everyone in the room, people who had seen the conversation we had the week before. And she puts up her hand and she's laughing. And she's like, Toyin. So, I did the homework. And she gives us all these examples of how she did the homework. And in fact, how she went overboard for the homework. She was like, let me really test this thing out, okay? And she's like, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. But it was funny, it was fun, and I did it. She goes, today's a week to the day, and nothing dramatic had happened. And then she gets an email that day that we were to meet again. And in this email, it was her workplace saying to her, hey, surprise, we want to give you a bonus. I don't remember the amount, but it was thousands of dollars. And we're going to give you this other thing that was also like it added to the thousands of dollars. A merit bonus out of nowhere. She didn't do nothing for it. And so she's laughing and she's just like it just happened. She's like, Toyin, I just got the email. Like, what? And so I just want to say, guys, even like you could be the most skeptical person, and this is not magic. This is just training yourself to expect differently, training your brain through neuroscience to begin to think in a different level, to begin to act in a different way, to begin to act in an exponential growth manner as opposed to a linear growth manner. And I always have to tell people, like, if y'all know me, I'm all about the data. I love the numbers. I'm a financial coach. I'm all about the numbers. I'm all about results. Like, I'm all about, it has to be concrete if I'm going to talk about it. And that's why I am telling you this. For the challenge that is coming up that you are going to hear about, you need to be able to believe that anything is possible for you in any amount of time. I can't wait to let y'all in on what's coming. I love you guys so much. Make sure, like I said, to book a call with our team if you know you need this in your life, like you need to create this type of a breakthrough for yourself. And follow me on Facebook, Money Mindset Shift. Follow me on TikTok, Toyin Crandell, Instagram, Toyin Crandell, YouTube, Toyin Crandell, so that you do not miss the announcements when I share it, because it's going to be coming sometime very soon, and there is a limit to the number of people that we are going to be allowing into this challenge. So I love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Hey millionaires, thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you want to subscribe, there's a little picture of me right here. Click on that. And if you want to have a free financial breakthrough session with my team, then you can go on ahead and click on the button right here, or visit moneymindsetShift.ca/call. I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye-bye.